When asked, 7 out of 10 Latinos in New York City feel that the census is important and everyone should be counted.
Yo creo que sí sería importante. Para mí sería importante.
I think it's important to know how many people are in the United States. I feel it's important to know how many immigrants are living here.
Que yo ya lo hice el censo anterior. Mi familia toda.
I participated on the last census. My whole family did.
Saber
so that they can know how many people are in the localities and they can help us get the resources our community needs. I think it's very important that we all get counted in the census.
Hello, I'm James Roberts from the United States Census Bureau. Here's my
Yo estoy feliz que haya el censo. De esa manera.
I am very happy that there is a census. That way we know how many people are here and whether we need additional resources by knowing how many people there are.
And although many feel confident that the undocumented have nothing to fear,
Bueno, en primer lugar, si es que yo
If
fuera...
I was undocumented, I would participate with no fear because it has nothing to do with immigration.
Porque confío en el censo.
I trust the census because there's nothing to be afraid of. It is separated from anything that has to do with immigration or the police. That has nothing to do with it. It is just to count the people here.
there are others who remain skeptical as to the possible retaliations for the undocumented.
I feel everybody should be counted. I mean, everybody is getting help, even immigrants from the United States, and yeah, they should be counted. But the bad thing, you know, the downside to it, everybody is scared about immigration, that they might come in.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with the Census Bureau because there are immigrants that I guess they don't count in counting the population in America. So since I know immigrants and stuff like that, my family, I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Jack Martin, just before the last break, several other panel members were trying to imagine how things would be different if we changed the regime for counting. How do you see things being different if FAIR's view of how the counting should be done, who gets counted and who doesn't, actually came to be?
Well, it's very clear at the present time that the representation in Congress of U.S. citizens in a district in Los Angeles, for example, is diminished compared to residents, compared to U.S. citizens living in a district where there are very few immigrants, and in particular very few illegal immigrants. What we would like to see is equal representation of U.S. citizens across the country. And you only do that if you apportion seats in Congress on the basis of U.S. citizenship.
So instead of, like the old formation was, one man, one vote, you'd see it as one citizen, one vote.
Exactly.
That would be a big change if you look back at our history, when places like the Great Lakes region in the northeast of the country filled up with immigrants in the late 19th and early 20th century, and politicians like Al Smith and Anton Chermak in Chicago came out of those immigrant communities. It was very much a part of our history that, in effect, America would be saying, well, we're moving on to something different now.
Well, let's use your example of the turn of the last century. In effect, you are absolutely correct that there were very large immigrant communities in areas such as Chicago. And not only that, there were many areas in the country in which non-citizens were able to vote in state elections, because that's a prerogative of the states to decide who votes. But in effect, what happened in those areas was scandalous in terms of some of the machine politics buying votes of the immigrant population that was unable to speak English or did not know English well, who didn't know what the issues were that they were voting on, but they were in effect buying votes. Those were documented scandals that led to a nationwide movement to remove the ability of non-citizens to vote across the country.
During that same era, the most uniformly native-born part of the entire country, the states of the old Confederacy, were also engaged in riotously unconstitutional behavior to deny people their votes. Wouldn't you agree that there was also some bad marks on that side
well,
of the ledger.
Of course there were, and what you would really like to have is a bright line distinguishing between who is legally entitled to vote and who is not, and that enforced. And we would suggest that that bright line be drawn along the lines of U.S. citizenship.